Check. Hello, 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 hello. All right, going live for a little bit here, closing out. There might be a proper closeout. We'll see. It kind of feels like I was telling my mom. She's like, "How's the campaign going?" I'm like, "I squeezed until the every last drop, and it doesn't feel like a big final day for the Indiegogo. It's just like so. I don't know if I'll even do a closeout. This is kind of the closeout. But I have some beverages, but maybe we will. We'll see. I have some beverages. I have one more. Then I got to decide if I want to buy more. I think I might not. But these are those non-alcoholic beers. Like, is this dangerous developing a taste for beer but without the booze? That alone could get you like, as like a borderline recovering addict. That's almost like what I am. It could be dangerous, but who knows? I think if I start drinking again though, I really don't want to get fat because that's why I quit drinking. And I'm like, I'll just drink tequila. And because supposedly that's the skinniest you can drink or whatever. What's up, Genuine? How's it going? It might just be you, Genuine, you and me. How's it going? Just a couple of guys just hanging out. And then I got this energy drink. So I'm going to chase the non alcoholic beer with the energy drink. This is all afternoon. And then if should I be thirsty, I have one of these fizzy waters. So so many beverages. So it's kind of the end of an era. It's been a couple months promoting Grand Prix, and then there is something lined up right away ish. But so one thing, I have a convention in the town that I live in has a teeny tiny convention called SquatchCon, and it's in 2 weekends. And I have a big table for that, so that'll be fun. Like sales are never insane for that, and it's not even like it's like me and one other comic person in town, and we hang out, and it's fun to like hang out with them. Maybe there'll be a few others, but it's not even like a big comic. There's a lot of like art stuff, whatever, Sasquatch stuff. Um, but yeah, that has been medium. I do it all weekend, so that's like a big thing. So that's in 2 weekends. This is about to end. Then like the summer. Meanwhile, I'm all just in production on comics. But one big thing that's going to come up is basically like an eBay of five trades of Vatican City that are signed by me and Mark with a remark illustration. Um, those I think there's 15 of those total, and I gave one to my best friend, so there's 14. And I'm like, you better appreciate this. This is worth some money. I could sell this on eBay for $100 or something. He's like, oh, I appreciate it. I was like, you don't appreciate it. But yeah, so we're doing five. So and then I think this is my plan to do five on eBay, regular auction, minimum bid 100, and see if I think they would all sell around, I don't think it'll like get bid up insane, but say so they sell at 100 or 150 each or something. Then you kind of know the price of what they're going for. So then I'll do five more, just buy now at that average price of the five that were auctioned. And then I'll have four left after that. And I'll just kind of hang on to those. Praetor 7, what's up? So there'll be 10 going out to the world. And that will be like, I got to decide when, because I can't really do it SquatchCon weekend, which is next weekend. I'm like, I could do it this weekend if I try to do that, if I try to squeeze it in, or it would be after Sasquatch, SquatchCon. But yes. And then I might, because that's the eBay thing, I have some like odds and ends of original art. So I might throw up a few pieces, just see what's up. Maybe some pages from Vatican City, do one more little sell. Those are slowly dwindling. I have like 30 left. I think I have 40 left, but there's 10 to 20 are like borderline unsellable because I don't know, they're just like early in the process, early pages where I was drawing like each panel individually for some of them, so they aren't even on like a single page. I was kind of changing my process as I went. Then I finally ended up settling on by page 5, so pretty early, but I was like, I just need to like draw it on 11 by 17 artboard with pencil and erase a lot. If I need any issues I have, I just erase. And recently though, I even switched. I was for the longest time using a F pencil, and I bought 2 boxes, so I have so many of them now because I was like, I love the F pencil. I'm never changing. But kind of randomly switched back to HB, like the most normal school pencil, and it's a little bit softer than an F. Uh, and it's technically kind of right in the middle too. F's like in the middle, but a little bit harder. Uh, and the HB, I love the HB. I'm like HB maxer, and I've got that one. I posted a picture on Twitter. It's like it's getting ground down to now it's only like this big, tiniest little pencil. So fun to work with. By the way, when the pencil you hold it, it rests on your bridge of your between your thumb and forefinger here. Your pencil rests there, and that steadies it. And there's a point when the pencil gets so short that it can no longer reach to even rest. So it's down here just wobbling around. If you draw with a little teeny tiny little pencil like that, it changes your drawing form. And I think that's good for you. It's not like, obviously you'd have a preference, and I'm pretty sure my preference is a longer pencil where you can rest it. But when I'm doing it with this one where it's, I wish I could have had it with me. I could show you guys, but yeah, all of a sudden you can't rest it on that bridge. So you're just like, it forces you to use your arm strokes more. It forces you to become more painterly with the, kind of makes you almost access a different part of your brain while you're drawing. It's like, oh yeah. There's a good piece of advice I got from an artist. Shoot, maybe Chet can help me the name. I can't think of it right now. But it's the artist for, oh, I can't even think of the book, for one of Mark Miller's books. And I met him at a convention in North Carolina last year. And he said, we were talking about brushes, and he's like, you'll buy like 5 brushes because you go through them kind of fast. And I didn't even know that. I didn't know like you go through brushes, but apparently, yeah, they don't last forever. And he's like, especially if you're like a professional artist drawing comics every day, he's like, you'll be going through these brushes. We buy 5 of them, but you find one of those brushes that is the one you make a connection with, where you're just really feeling it with that brush, and you just feel good when that brush is in your hand. Or he said something like that, and I was like, I can kind of see where you're coming from. Like that'll happen with like that pencil. Like you've been through a lot with this pencil. You know that if you're picking up this pencil, this is your like game time pencil. This means get your game face on. That was actually another guy, Klaus Jansen. I do remember his name. Uh, he had a piece of advice about inking. I've mentioned this on other streams, but he said, uh, he's like, my main thing with inking is I have to turn my brain up. And I was like, well, what does that mean? And then he's German too, borderline English, second language, although obviously he speaks perfect English. But um, he says he has to turn his brain up. The Germans, by the way, they have different words that we don't even have, like Schadenfreude. They have other words. I wish there was a list of words like Schadenfreude, where these concepts, where they actually have just a word for it. Because I've heard there's a couple of them, and they are all super awesome. I think one of them, they might have had a word for the spirit of the stairway, maybe, where like you always think of what you wanted to say right when you leave or whatever, or the irony of like not having the witty thing to say, and then as soon as you're thinking about it at night, about to go to sleep, you think of it. They like have a word for that. Like, oh, they have words for all these funny concepts. Schadenfreude. But anyway, yeah, his is turned my brain up, and it basically means like game face, kind of a little bit. It's like this. So it kind of combines with the advice from the other guy. Like, I pick up this brush. This is the game face. Like, we're gonna do this. Whoosh, we're gonna like fucking ink this page, and we're gonna get that feel for it. Whatever. Praetor, speaking of artists for Miller, Matteo Scalera has a crowdfunder. Yeah, The Fourth Father looks amazing. Published by Ink Pulp, the podcast. They're kind of branching into publishing, which is cool. There might be more of that, like they once they publish one, they can publish 2. I think that's excuse me. That's an exciting kind of like under talked about aspect of the story is that, I mean, maybe Ink will publish more, but yeah, they're like a publisher on the scene. And like Fourth Father is kind of a big book to bag. They That's a big one. That's good. Matteo Scalera is awesome too. Met the goal. Yeah. Yeah, I have the link in the description. You know, where it's always good to push a little bit past it. Because always a little worried about something like a last second refund or something, you know. That would be such a bummer. So if anyone wants to, if you haven't backed it, do it. I imagine everyone watching is probably backed, but yeah, it's the last day. The Kickstarter also, I mean that it's gonna like you can still back it, but it's like closed. But you won't even be able to back it in like a day or two. I'll shut it down. But that one is like $60 away from 1,000. So close, so close. So yeah, we need to get one or two backers on the Kickstarter. We need to get a few backers on the Indiegogo. Then we're good. Praetor. I've got a question about any potential availability of the Grand Prix 1 of 3 collection, but it may be appropriate for a DM. Yeah, just DM me. I'm around on X. I can get back to you fast if you want to hit me up. Buzz, what's up, man? Forever in the upstairs loft. Yeah. And you know, the loft is a definite improvement over multiple earlier iterations. This is a nice spot to finally find myself. I do like this room. And I tell you guys, now this room has a giant carpet, like the kind of carpet that got peed on in Big Lebowski. It really ties the room together. There's this giant carpet and it kind of smells nice, just like kind of new clean carpet, whatever. Now the carpet's like a month old, still smells nice. It's pretty sweet. Thing about carpets, I think like if they lose that kind of cool carpet smell, you can vacuum and then the carpet smell returns. I'm like, oh, always trust in the carpet smell. I just had a roommate move out and he had kind of bad BO and his room was stinky right when he moved out. And I was like, ah. And I opened all the windows. Then he was completely out. It was vacuumed and it looked so great. And I'm a little stressed because I think I got to get a new roommate in kind of quickly because it definitely helps with the house payment. And I kind of need that. So like I might go a month without. I'm like, oh, I'm losing potential income, and it's a little stressful. It's cortisol spike, but I have some options. We'll see what happens with the new roommate. New roommate would be my third roommate. Since I moved in, I've had three different roommates, just people coming and going. But yeah, so the room was like stank ass. I just vacuumed the carpet, opened all the windows, but I come back a couple hours later, and as someone's coming in to see it too, I'm like, I hope they don't smell the stank ass of this room. But 2 hours later, or like, it might have been sooner, but I kind of check in 2 hours later, smells like new carpet all of a sudden, which new carpet has its own, like, kind of like a stink, I guess you could say, but it smells like kind of good. Smells like society not falling apart is what good carpets, clean, stinky carpet, just like you know, like an office or something, like a water cooler, just like, you know, 10 people. What's up? What's up? What's up? CJ, congrats on hitting the goal. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Uh, there are 3 indie books right now that I want, and 2 end today. Terrible time for my wallet. Yours and Father are 2 of them, and I like that Basilisk book. Oh yeah, those look sweet. Yeah, that's like definite thing is like people will kind of have they do this automatically, but I do this. Everyone does this. I think where you kind of tier books you want to buy, and then it's like there's a cutoff where you can't afford it anymore. And yeah, so like a lot of people like a book, it could be on everyone's top 5 list, and we were just not in an era of the economy where people are buying 5 books. They might be buying 3. So then the 4th and 5th book, um, might only be funding for 5 grand or whatever, instead of like if somehow it reaches that 5 book buying point of society and the economy and everything, all of a sudden you could be like 20K, 30K. So it's kind of weird how that works. Feast or famine a little bit, and just kind of wondering about the sine waves of the pros and cons. I got a little of crowdfunding and ups and downs. I have a little theory though that it's good to separate yourself if you can with like a little gold star kind of thing, and that is a little bit maybe working through crowdfunding publishers like Ink Pulp. You know, the fact that Matteo Scalera is going through Ink Pulp, it kind of gives it a little specialness beyond, and that maybe that's a bad example because his book's so amazing anyway. But yeah, you could kind of um like yeah, like even Ripasend, Ink Pulp, Iconic. I think I might try and look at publishing like through that kind of thing for a future campaign instead of just me doing it myself, because then you get a little gold star, and the gold stars help, I think. Otherwise it's just a one in a million. It's hard to differentiate from like 1,000 books that are crowdfunding at one time or whatever. You can get lost in the sauce, as they say, you know. Okay, I did have an intention to kind of just work a bit, being live and work. Let me see. Although working while drinking a non-alcoholic beer, this is like, we'll see how this goes. Because even non-alcoholic beers, they kind of tend to be associated with relaxation. And have been ranting. I still have a few rants in me. Maybe I got to tell you guys a little update on Percival, perhaps. Let me see what the chat's saying too. But got my little non-alcoholic IPA here. Cheers, everybody. Um, but yeah, this morning I finished. It's actually adventure number. I'm actually not calling it episodes because that's too TV-ish. So I just call it adventures. And the Percival arc is 8 adventures, and each adventure is 3. It maps over like a TV season. It does kind of work that way, but it's meant to be a comic series. But it's 8 adventures. Each adventure is 3 comic issues, so it's 24 total. And each adventure is very individual, episodic, standalone. But there is like the way that kind of works for it is he's going from the south to the north, and I have a map, and like, so the north is like this kingdom called Devotion, and the south is a kingdom called Tribute, and there's like stuff further south. But so when you're in Tribute had been conquered by Devotion 100 years earlier, so like Devotion comes up, so they're kind of talking about it, and they're kind of occupied by it, but peacefully kind of thing. It's been a while. They're allowed to, like Rome, like they're allowed to like worship whatever they want. Devotion isn't like slamming them down or whatever. But so Devotion is kind of in the story, but they're just this northern thing. And then he's traveling north. After Tribute, there's a big desert highway passage that has its own culture of how that all works. There's an episode about that, and then like some towns outside of Devotion, and then reaches Devotion, kind of meets that king who's going to be an interesting character. And possibly I was thinking he would just be like the main bad guy. And I initially even had written down like, oh yeah, like he's like the cannibal king. But he's not like openly into it, but there's a secret society and they like are, and I kind of threw that away a little bit. I'm still because I'm on now that this is what I was going to say is I've written 6 of them now. I finished one this morning. So the last, it is going to be like a 2-parter, even though even those can be like separated as adventures. I have ways for it. If it's not really structured like a movie necessarily or whatever, like a TV movie, even it's like 2 episodes, but they're more connected. They both take place in Devotion. Um, and I know a lot of what's going to happen, but one thing I was thinking about is like, yeah, the king. It's funny, these like first ideas. Yeah, your first idea is like, oh, it's Devotion's actually secretly super hardcore, and the king is like, evil motherfucker. He's a cannibal, blah blah blah. And now I'm like, you know what? I have a new idea, and the king, maybe he's not a bad guy. Um, and and yeah, like I haven't written all this down, so it's hard to even say it off the cuff. But my idea is that the king, he's actually planning on leaving. He's kind of like a rat leaving a sinking ship. Like devotion has ruled for 100 years. He's like a son of a son of a son of the guy who actually conquered everything, who was like a hardcore badass. And this guy, he's not a good guy, not a bad guy, but he's like not into being king, and he's planning his his like escape kind of thing. Almost, like almost like Bilbo leaving the Shire. Like almost in like a main character kind of way, almost like Huck Finn or something. So he's trying to get things in aligned so that he's not totally going to screw over his kingdom and leave a power vacuum that will cause a lot of bloodshed. But in trying to wrap up a few things, he might have to wrap up with like there is tensions with tribute that are after 100 years they are bubbling up again. It looks like there may be like, there could be like some war. There is some economic shit that's like not so good these days. The real good times have passed, and yeah, there's all these problems, and he's just gonna leave, and he's kind of planning his little dealio of how he's gonna do that, and I'm trying to think of like if at some point he does just leave, and then there could be he's either in season two or there's some stories about him as a king who didn't want to rule anymore and he just left, and I'm like, ooh, that's like to me way more fun than he's a super evil cannibal king, and Percival's gonna find out that he eats people and then he's gonna kill him. Yeah. Uh, but yeah, that doesn't even reveal like what like the story is exactly. That Yeah, but I have plenty of fun stuff. Where I kind of want it to go. I'm talking so vaguely, but there's one like itch I haven't scratched within the Percival kind of adventure, because a lot of it I say it's like it's kind of a lot like Hercules, I think. And it's like, a knight it's a knight going on a journey to get the grail, going on adventures. But um but one second here. Um burp. Hold on. Backed against the wall. I thought you said backed, and I was like, "Oh, you backed it?" It's like, "No, backed against the wall." Um yeah, what was I saying? Woohoo. Yeah, CJ, thanks. Sorry, I'm catching up with the chat. I kind of lost my train of thought. I'll get back to it in a second. Yeah, another three at once. Yeah, and there is like a ton out there. And yeah, it's funny what ones stand out. I guess I don't even know how it works. I would love to get more attention or whatever. I'm doing a few. I'm working on a few now. I'm working on Naked Samurai. Working on one with Brendan. Working on some short comics. Working on Percival. Yeah, yeah. They group together. What about Dark Horse? Bobby. Oh, for publishing? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I do want to. I'm not sure what project. Like maybe Percival. I want to pitch to Dark Horse. Maybe grape juice, non-alcoholic wine. Yeah, or like mead. Mead is a little bit like that. I've only had mead once, and it was terrible. But some people like it. Uh, Cannibalism is style right now, fiction. Yeah, yeah. It's a little bit like sooner or later the conspiracy theory that I like am paranoid about is that the powers that be are trying to guide society with where they'll eventually be growing meat in labs. This is like for climate change. So instead of cows, they're just growing meat in labs, and they're like, okay, you can only eat lab grown meat. Here you go. And it's all human grown. And then they don't tell you, but they're like, yeah, it turns out it's better for you if you eat if it's lab grown, you should just eat your own meat. Like, doesn't that make sense? I mean, what would rejuvenate you more than just more of you? You know what I mean? And then they're going to get everyone into it. So then they do the predictive programming where they're like green lighting and allowing any story about cannibalism to kind of filter through. So it definitely is. That's true. And yeah, it is like in vogue. I have one short story that's like making fun of all that, and I am excited for that to debut. Hopefully that'll be drawn by next year or something. Yeah, the Brendan Swan project could be sweet. Uh, okay, so I think the thing I was going to say about Percival is that uh, there's no dungeon crawling yet, and that's like almost like a separate thing I want to do. Is like I love Tower Dungeon. I love the idea of the new A24 movie, The Backrooms. That's like a dungeon movie. And then I guess people have been bringing up House of Leaves, which is this old book from when I was in college. Everyone was talking about it, and it sounds kind of awesome. I guess it has a little backlash. Some people hate it, but it's about a house with infinite rooms that people die in, and it's like creepy, you know. And I'm like, that sounds so cool. I love that. And yeah, certain video games, obviously Dark Souls. There's the video game called Fear and Hunger. Love that game. And yeah, this idea of like horror, medieval monster knights in dungeons, dungeon crawling is like so fun. And I love it. But it can be kind of hard to think of because it works so great for video games. Yeah, it's like sometimes a little bit hard. Is like if I did a Percival adventure that involved a dungeon crawl, you know, like how to get into that exactly. And then what level are you allowed to like, because it kind of takes place in a, I'm trying to think what it lines like, if even Conan is like this, where it's like mostly humans. It's not like orcs and goblins and um, stuff like that. It's like mostly humans. You might have a giant here or there. That's like what Percival is like, is like, uh, yeah, it's not um super fantasy yet. And I'm like, maybe I could do it kind of like Berserk, where you kind of get some of that in there. Like, there's no dragon yet, you know. I could try and do a dragon thing. And there is like stories like that from the lore, the original lore. Like, it all mixes with like the Gaelic gods and stuff. But yeah, there's one where they have to like hunt a special stag, and the stag is like a god, and it's like this like giant, you know, like Miyazaki-esque deer with crazy antlers, you know? Like that would kind of fit potentially. Um, but yeah, striking that balance of how to introduce, go a little bit beyond just like swords and borderline like swords and sandals, like Rome type stuff is like what it is now. Um, and like it's just adventures, and it's like it actually maps over like samurai adventures really well. And there's one episode, it's a very samurai-esque adventure with like duels and stuff like that. And I call in that one, I call there's like two rival gangs, and it's Boss Oda and Boss Ludo, and just calling them bosses is like samurai-esque, you know. And that's the one I just finished. But yeah, so it's a fun place to be in, to have six like written, uh and then yeah, then like the wheels are spinning on 7 and 8, and it's kind of a big undertaking to write that. That's like the length of them, because it's, yeah, it's the equivalent now of like, to write that will be like the equivalent of like writing a movie, which can take like a year. Uh, if you're like thinking about it, redrafting it, letting it stew, thinking about it, redrafting it, letting it stew, writing a few days a week, blah blah blah. Like I think I might have it done in, I don't know. Like if I do nothing but that, which I shouldn't do, I need to be drawing. But then I could do it in like maybe a couple months. Maybe if I did full-time writing, but sometimes you feel like you can't just write. You can't speed it up like that. You have to take time to like sleep on it, and then to go for walks and stuff, and watch some movies for inspiration, and see what kind of floats to the surface. But yeah, all that process, like 2 months. Yeah, maybe get those. But then I kind of wonder, like, what would happen? What would it be like when I have all 8 adventures written? That full arc season, kind of wrapping up this journey from tribute to devotion, um, meeting that final king who he himself doesn't want to be a king anymore. He's going to leave. Actually, as I'm saying it now, I'm like, you know, what would be cool is if he tries to make Percival his heir and Percival doesn't want to do it. I'll see if I can work that in. Who knows? Um, but the one thing is the king of tribute, he's called the merchant king, and he is like a fat, like likable guy. And then now this other king, like I'm avoiding certain archetypes of kings, and he previously was my favorite character, and I'm worried that the devotion king is like almost too much like him, like having a, but I think if I can make him like, I'm like exploring a whole different angle on, yeah, these are not, well, one guy's like doesn't even want to be king and the other guy does want to be. So there is maybe enough difference. But I'm not doing like, yeah, the badass evil king. I don't know. What else, or the super noble king who's just so great. Which that would actually be a good one to try and do. Um Super evil, maybe you can make that work too. I don't know. I saw a version of that in Merlin, the TV movie. Uh and it was kind of fun. But it was comedic. They kind of went for it. It was a good tone where the king is like he would actually have people like beheaded if he got bored of the conversation, like that kind of stuff. And it's like, yeah, just kind of funny, but Percival's not exactly on that level with that tone. Um, there is some like sort of like jokes ish. Like I wrote one, and I don't know if I'm gonna cut it or not, but it's kind of before a big battle. An older warrior is trying to pump up the younger warrior, and he's like, you have to die bravely in battle because then you get to go to the afterlife, and which is flight is the god that will take you. So flight will take you to the afterlife, but you have to die bravely in battle. And then the kid is like, what does he say? But he says like, but it has to be an accident, right? And the guy's like, what? And he's like, yeah, you have to die on accident or else flight won't take you. And he's like, yeah, you can't die on purpose. You have to die bravely on accident and then flight will take you. He's like, okay. Um, yes. I might have butchered that, but okay, so um yeah, so excited about Percival, different projects got going on. Working a little bit here. Here's the X-Men thing I drew. I can show you guys, we can take a second and try and first thing I'll do is open up a new folder. I'm going to copy paste this in. I kind of like to work at 400 DPI at regular size. So this is a comic page at like 7 by 10.5, I think, something like that, inches at 400 DPI, not 11 by 17, but it is the same exact ratio as 11 by 17. So this is 11 by 17 at 600 DPI. So this is way bigger. I don't like working this big because the files are too big. And you don't need them that big anyway. But yeah, look at, if I paste it in, that's how big it is compared. It's like over 4 times as big. So I shrink it a ton. So I do have the big resolution original, but I'm going to shrink it and yeah, then reposition it to where it all fits. Um, Shrink it just a little bit. And yeah, look, it's a little bit taller. It's like, what do I want to cut off? Sure, right there, right in the middle. Okay, then I gotta save this. Hold on, I'll save it over here. Uh, and like I have a sketch folder. It's kind of random odds and ends. I'll say X-Men, pin up test thingy. Okay. Then I duplicate it. And now you can do it maybe with just brightness contrast. And sometimes just blasting it, like, yeah, all the way. But then there's a thing like, what if I move the brightness down? You know, obviously that's too much. But you might want to keep some of that for texture at some point so you can kind of do a version. Um, or if I go, yeah, if I go like this, it's cutting into it a little bit. That actually kind of looks potentially the best to me. So we might try that. Then I kind of don't want the red, so I go, what do you do? Tonal correction. Wait, what do we do? Convert. You can convert brightness to opacity, but I don't know if I really want to do that or not yet. But if I do that, I'll show you what that does. That takes out the red. Um, Maybe that's the way to go. And then, so some of that, because that red would have become more like see-through, I could duplicate this and it does thicken. So I can control the thickness that way. So we won't do that now. But if we do this, what are some other options? Edit. You could try just the binarization and just mess with it. So like that's really dark, way too dark, bright, really bright, crisp, super bright, which actually looks kind of good. It kind of quickly, see, it starts to get thick. It starts to not look as good to me, right? And we're going to color it. You got to imagine it's going to add some. So maybe right there, there. Huh? Trying to see. Sure, right there. Okay. Yeah, so those two ways that we did it are very similar. Can't decide which one's better. How do we even know? We can check it at the end after we color it. I think I like that more black, just a little bit more. So yeah, we could work off that. And we could just say F it and delete this. We can always find it later if we need it. So then there's a few things like her eyes are funky. Some of these nicks are funky. I don't know if that's like eraser shit that I didn't get rid of. Some of that I should almost clean up. There's not too much of it. See a little of it here. So maybe I'll take a moment and yeah, because if these nicks, if you can tell, it's not really adding like a texture that you want. It's more just kind of creating this messy feeling I don't want. Um, Definitely there's some of that around here. Some of those nicks around here could stay, but on her skin and stuff. And I'm on a layer above so I can mess with it. Yeah, like obviously here. Now there's a thing I kind of don't like her eyes at all, so I might just try and redraw them and see. But we could try messing with them, like if we, yeah, like give her. I mean, that's not terrible. I don't know. Oops. We can add some blacks. So we're doing white and black on this layer. Yeah, if we need blacks anywhere, just kind of cleaning it up. Sure, that looks fine. How's my boy Wolvie looking? I think he looks kind of okay. I don't even know. Oh yeah, do his blades. Make these a little bit more. His claws, not his blades. Okay, that's fine. It's fine. Now we can do a little bit of like when in doubt, black it out type stuff. Um, and adding white blown out kind of stuff in the right spots too looks good. Because it's supposed to be it's a jungle with like a couple trunks. You can see them. And yeah, it's like obviously pretty abstract. But we can get it in there. Um, the one thing I think I want to try is maybe we'll go on another layer now because I'm going to be more like what I want to try. More black. I'm going to try this and see how this looks. More black for Milady here. Now, does that look cool? Or so that, or kind of going almost put too much black so I can kind of bring it back here like this. I don't know. It's kind of like the thinking about the lighting here a little bit and seeing if it works. Right now we're just like I don't know. See, that looks pretty good. Then she's crossing her leg. It's actually reading. That's what we needed. And her other leg, it's like kind of got, oops, this is it here. She's sitting on this black. See, we're kind of cheating because it would have been good to get all this right in the phase of the actual inking, but I do sometimes do this. Like you go back in and just kind of trying to get her. This is like, yeah, there's that. That. Okay. Good enough for nows. Yeah, that one we don't need. Delete. Do one more. I'll see if you guys are asking anything. Then I might, on this one, I might try and see if there's any places like some actual when in doubt, black it out type stuff. Like kind of like all in here, maybe could all in here. Trying to get some like, yeah, real. Here's Nightcrawler. I think mostly down there. Then maybe, yeah, maybe some right here. See how that looks. All right. This is our when in doubt, black it out. Did that improve it? You can look up here in the thumbnail. Kind of did improve it. Whatever. Just a little bit of black. Getting a little bit of this. Still, yeah. And then I might not need too much like blowing out it with white out. Maybe some of Nightcrawler's business up here. So if I do that, yeah, like here's his, we're actually cutting out like some white shapes to look like Banff, kind of white smoke. You can kind of barely see Nightcrawler up there, but that's all we need for now. Okay, and then we can look at the before and after. So here's everything. So that's what was scanned in. And then here's added a little more extra blacks to find her legs better, get that corner blacked out. Yeah, not too many changes, but that's all good. I'm going to go ahead and apply that. So I'm going to go merge it down, merge it down. Now it's on white. I could either do it as multiply if I want to color underneath it, or you can convert brightness to opacity, which sometimes that's better. So, okay, so now it's just the blacks. We'll need another white layer underneath. And then on this white layer, I can do flats. Let me save. So it's kind of ready and prepped for flats now. And yeah, so we can mess with that. But I have one other file to kind of get ready. And it's the cover for Naked Samurai. Similar thing, but I got these sketches of the logo, which needs to be cleaned up. Doing the same exact logo style as Percival. Uh, don't even need to explain myself, or don't ask me. Okay, so what we'll do here is this is the one I want. This could almost go like in the corner, but And this is not aligned, so but we'll do it later. So we go Control C. We'll just hide this at the bottom. We'll go view, go above. See where we want this. Maybe like that. It's not. I just realized it's not necessarily the best design logo because just that aspect ratio. Like, do I want it to really take up the top half of the whole thing? No. It could be up here. Actually, looks kind of cool. Or over here, right in the middle, and Katie Samurai. Or over here. That's kind of cool over here. We'll try that. Is that weird? I don't know. But yeah, so we need like, we got to drag this over. No big deal. No big whoop. Maybe we can like, yeah, extend it out. We got, I smeared some ink there, so we'll just delete that. Or maybe we'll make that white. And then, yeah, same thing with this one. Just align it. And then same thing with this one is, we just go like that. I do believe that will work for now. And then edit, convert brightness, opacity. We'll hide this and clean this up a little bit. Naked Samurai. Samura. Naked Samurai. Naked Samurai. This. Okay. For now, that's cool. I think we will do this. We'll go shrink out some of these. Put some white behind it. Yeah, now we can. Get it all? What's that one? Dope. Okay. All right. Selection. Cool. Put this all in a folder, maybe. Does this, maybe right in the middle, screw it. High up. Boom. Now we can hide that for now. Now we'll do this. So do the same thing as before. We duplicate it because we'll always have a version. The bottom. And then yeah, we'll see a few things. I think I kind of want to adjust. It's an unfortunate like mistake of my art, but he's like tilted too much. But if I go like that, that like fixes everything. Um, does it? Yes, maybe. White. Shoot. White behind this one. Okay. Now, here's where we see this is all done with a brush on a kind of smaller page, so the brush strokes are bigger, looser. You kind of wouldn't want to do it for final art on like if I was hired by Mark Miller or something, but this is my book and I can do it tiny and it can look a little sketchy and whatever. Uh but yeah, so the question is if I drag it this way too much. If I drag it this way too little. Although that does look kind of cool. We want somewhere like that. And then maybe from there, try the binarization. More or less. So hard to decide. Which one reads better? I think less reads better. Because once we color it, that's going to darken it. You want it to look a little blown out when it's just inks. That took me forever to learn that. That's a little nugget for anyone listening. If inks look like a little blown out, that always looks great, and it looks great when you color it. But for this, I don't know if I'm going to color it even. I think I might try and do kind of what I did for the interiors, which is a lot of texture type stuff. But one thing I want to do is just do kind of what we did before too, just filling in some blacks like that. I think that might be, I don't know if we want all this. Yeah, sure. Like that. Got our guys and our tree ninjas. Now we can try. Oh, I was inking here and I ended up not liking some of what happened here, and I wonder how I can. There's a way to just kind of get rid of that. I forget what I ended up liking. Maybe like that. I don't know. Oh, like that. Well, it looks good. Flip it. That does look okay. I don't know. Like that. Okay. So we will merge this down. Now this one, I think we will flat it. By the way, this cover is just like three ninjas and naked samurai just sitting around doing nothing. Because in the story, they're like waiting. It's like waiting for Guffman, little parts of it. Not the whole thing, but I'm like, is this a good cover? Whatever. A moment of repose, they call it. If the Praetor 7, if the inks look blown out, do what? You kind of want them to look blown out to prep them for color. You kind of a lot of times that will it kind of means you're indicating the lighting and you have a feeling of 3D if it's like blown out a little bit. And so I've kind of started. I'll go in with white out paint. I eventually might not have to do this, but I'll realize I inked in places where I maybe shouldn't have if I wanted to have that blown out 3D lighting indicated look kind of thing that is great for coloring. So then I would go in and just add a little white out for highlights or for yeah, like sometimes it's like if you're drawing like their bicep and you drew all these veins and muscle texture and then you're realizing like, oh, that's actually like the lightest point of the illustration, then you could just go in and white all that out, and like, yeah, it looks way better a lot of times rather than you want detail, but you put the detail in like mid tones and dark tones, and then your light tones kind of don't get detail because they're blown out, and that looks good. And like with the blown out thing, when you're just adjusting the lines, it's like remembering it's going to be printed at comic size, and like having some like thick to thin, like it's kind of nice having the super thin lines. Like we have our thick, we want our super thin also, and that feels good when you're looking at it. Um, Whereas if I had went darker with the getting some of these thicker, you kind of lose a little bit of that. But okay, so next we'll go edit, convert, brings to opacity. Now this one, we'll just see what's up. We're hiding this. Let me. I don't know if it's good to do it. Can we do best to do flats and colors? Maybe I'll do that just for the sake of marking off. So I'll mark our characters off. See, as far as even like blowing out, like I didn't even draw his like face here, but we're gonna mark it with the coloring, like that kind of. What looks good? That looks okay. And now I have noticed that if you don't hit the lines pretty precisely, it can feel a little weird. So it's probably good to hit them precisely. I need to force myself. Sometimes I go too fast. Oh, see, I went over there. I could zoom in, but now it would be good to be able to show you guys the actual texture possibilities adding into, but I don't know. The stream's going an hour. I don't know if I might just hang in flat for a second and then. But I only need to flat a few big shapes here. I'm going to get the characters. See, and that could be cleaned up, some of that sketchiness, but who cares for now? Our little ninja bro bundled up. Random fingerprint there. This ninja's pose is like borderline abstract, and that's okay, I think. Okay. Here's a guy against the wall, our little ninja guy. Oops. Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll go. His other leg is right here. Here's him. He's contemplating a little pebble on the ground right here or something. There's that bro, and then here's this bro against the wall. Okay, those are our bros. Then I kind of want to do this giant obelisk-y wall here. And I could try and get in these like vines or whatever, the texture, but I think just doing the whole thing. So this can be a lot bigger. Make this purple, pink. Well, Red, what's up? Caleb, what's up? Praetor, this page looks really cool. Thanks, Praetor. Yeah, I might not need to add textures because I did kind of a lot of texture work with the brushes or with the with the inking. Maybe like this. Did I get it all? Boom, that went fast. Okay, now let's try this one. We got to get in a little bit of this. And the last one is the sky over here. That will separate all the shapes. We're just doing flats, so these colors are not. Oh, I messed it up. I'm not being super precise, which could be bad. But I can go in here and fix that. Reprecise it. And I could get the stones. Maybe that's a good idea. Try seeing if getting just some of these stones here. Oh no. I should zoom in for this. Another fingerprint. How does that happen? I don't remember. All right, that'll work. Okay. All right, what's next? I think gray scaling. What does this look like if I just grayscale it? What just happened? Delete it. Duplicate and delete it right next to it. Duplicate. Tonal gradient map. So that's black and white. From there, we can use this, set it as the reference layer. We can pop our boys out. We could add some lighting. There's plenty we can do. We could do a black and white version and then add. I don't know if this is like soft. I don't know if that's good or not to do that. That looks kind of cool. Maybe that. And then this one, white. Here. Yeah, blurring it in. That looks kind of cool. White more maybe? Too much? sad. I don't know. And then this one, same thing maybe. We want that looks kind of cool. And we can actually get the lighting in here. I don't know if we'll want. I don't know if we want that or not. I try just painting it. I don't know if I'm supposed. I should have done this on another layer. Hold on, we're gonna have to undo it. Black, black sky, dark sky. I don't know. I'll mess with this more. What does it look like with the layer? Naked samurai. We'll keep tinkering. Yeah, I'm gonna end the stream, everyone. Back Grand Prix last day. If you haven't, go ahead and grab it. We did. Looks like we did get couple more backers, which is nice. So thanks everyone who's done that. Yeah, cool. We're getting a few backers. All right, I'll see everyone later.